Bad, 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 bad. We'll find that out in a second. There you go. That's the name of the song right there. Oh boy. All right, some much needed changes are coming. Okay. 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 Hi. Got to make some shifting adjustments to some things. Forgive me. How are you guys doing?
Not too bad. I think we're all pretty much regretting that we haven't finished our sheets.
It's okay.
I finished mine.
Yeah, I knew that he had finished his.
I forgot to fill mine out, so I'm doing that now.
It's all right. We got time. Tonight's going to be a little bit of a different kind of game, and I was sort of expecting this to happen, especially since Austin swore up and down that he would finish his character sheet, and he still left it Big Dick McGee.
That is finished. Little did you know.
Oh no.
That's his new character.
Not like this.
Do you have a problem with my friend's name, Biggus? Dickus?
Yes, Biggus Dickus.
Do you find that humorous?
I do have a problem with it. I do, in fact, have a problem with it. Guys! Hi, everyone. Hi, I hope you're doing all right. Bub knew his crew. He knew they would be too lazy to get it done. Well, I think we just get sidetracked.
I'm fucking... Yeah, too lazy. We'll go with that.
Oh,
it's just
good.
Too
now
easy
we're
to
on
get
audio.
sidetracked. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
it's a good thing that I was warned about that. Well, it's not like we needed monetary income from YouTube.
What? Transparent chat box. That's good. Give me the dice
back,
box.
What's my fly speed?
There it is.
60.
Lazy equals busy, which means I am the laziest bastard around, right? Yeah, I feel that.
You want me to kick off the recap?
Not yet. I think everybody's got a pretty good idea of at least what's happened, and I want to make sure that everyone's good to go. But I gotta start setting up these cameras because they're looking a little funky.
Well, that and we need to actually wait for Red, or if Red actually shows up.
You know what? I have no idea if he's even showing up.
Yeah, he already put that he wasn't sure. He had a final to do.
Red's had a final to do probably for weeks now.
I don't know if your son.
I imagine you're right.
I don't know if you've gone over this yet.
What about it? What?
428 out of 275 seems a little bit high.
Okay, all right. So some things have happened since the last time we streamed.
Oh.
Yeah. We had a couple of people come in and give us a couple of subs. Yep. Just like that. That number's accurate. 428 is accurate.
Well then.
Holy shit.
So what you're saying is we got a lot of rerolls, right?
Do we have somebody that has now got the highest number of gifted subs?
Yes, his name is Wars.
A new person, I should say.
It's like Wars1213. And he, in 2 nights, he gifted like almost 200 subs.
Jesus.
I pray for that man's financial stability in the coming years.
You know, he said he was doing okay. Said he was doing okay. Like a boss indeed, right? Chat's good. We just gotta set up your cameras.
Okay. All that.
Well, no, we don't need cameras tonight. We can all do it theater of the mind, right?
Right?
Right.
Right.
God,
Looks
I
around.
do not feel pretty tonight.
Okay, It's okay.
I trimmed up the beard and everything, and I was looking in the mirror, and I was like,
It's okay.
I
It's
don't
been
think
so
my
long.
facial hair's been this short in probably a year and a half. It's a little ridiculous.
Similar.
Bunny Fufu subbing Refix. What's going on, man? Thank you for that. Very kind of you.
So why'd you trim it up?
I got tired of it being long and shaved most of it off.
It's generally how that works. It looks better, though, to be fair. Looks better.
How do I
It'll
look
grow
then?
back out anyway.
You look
4
like
out
a
of 10?
you look like a wee lad.
Look
I know
like a wee laddie.
if Leslie would see you right now, she would probably giggle a lot.
Probably. That little kid slept on my floor.
Something like that. Ha ha ha, that little kid may or may not have mated with my dog.
I don't want to talk about it. We're going to a long night, okay? I needed something warm there.
Oh, man. Every time
Jared
Betty
was
comes
the
up in
one that-
conversation, Jared still says that Betty is a goblin. Or she's a gremlin. Like, she's not a fucking
She
gremlin.
is.
Betty's a sweetheart.
We actually named my dog Gizmo after a gremlin, so
Nice.
I know gremlins when I see them.
Is that so?
Betty's not a gremlin. She's
Yeah,
This is
sometime
great.
soon I need to go out and actually get myself another dog. I miss having puppies.
I'm so
I
sad.
do.
I'm so sad, actually.
Why are you sad?
No, I said that was so sad. I miss having puppies.
I do. I've got 5 cats. That's all.
One more and you'll be a crazy cat lady.
you have
Man.
bad decision making, man.
That's Jacob.
Well, no, we had 1 cat. You know, rescued 1 cat. Then she dropped a litter and disappeared. So I have 5 boy cats, and they're all assholes.
Typical
Boycotts.
cat.
So I entered in the amount of money that I have in this character sheet, and immediately the total weight goes to
Over-encumbered.
overload. Yeah,
Oh god.
I need to uncheck that coins box. My coins weigh 264.3 pounds.
Oh my god. He's
How
fucking
much
loaded,
gold
lads.
do you have?
2,600.
Was it
I'll
700,
play
right?
hot or
From-
cold with you.
Damn it, I should have kept my mouth shut. I'm sorry, Refix.
Like, I know when it comes to... I know we all told had 725 gold pieces, which
from
I'm
the
carrying.
lair alone.
Yeah, which I'm carrying. And 200 platinum pieces, which I'm also carrying. Because I don't think I told anybody about the 200 plats.
You did not.
Nope.
Yeah, I just went ahead and pocketed that shit.
I carry no money. So there's that, you know. I still don't have a backpack. All I have is a fucking ram hammer and
Ulhime can
Yeah,
only
that's
carry
it.
a handful right now.
well, you can carry 2 handfuls.
No, only one.
Zing.
Ah.
He lost his hand, man. He lost it up to the elbow, remember?
Yeah, but he's got what? Like, okay, 2 of my handfuls is 1 of his handfuls.
Now, maybe now.
Oh yeah, not when he was a goblin.
Yeah.
I doubt.
So let's kind of recollect our thoughts here. What do we remember happening last time on Shackled City?
Well,
Fuck
Fucking
shit.
bullshit is what it was.
Xander lost.
All
a hand.
right. So, last time on Shackled City, we had just finished getting captured by the worm dude. I forgot what his whole title was. Any of you guys
The
remember?
worm who walks.
Worm
Yes.
Who Walks, correct.
Correct.
He just captured our party. On top of that, Sarsoza and Mo Truck he captured as well. taking us to one. We were assuming his sacrificing chamber. He started essentially toying with us, telling us that we would essentially have to fight for our lives one by one against the golem. And during that time, Ulhime was able to break the control of the worm that walks,
Yeah.
paralyzing hold. As that happened, he ended up using his last remaining channel energy to disrupt a large portion of the worm that walks power, giving everyone the ability to move again. As battle ensued, we ended up losing Zarza, was his actual name, sorry, Zarza, in combat, and the fire giant Motruck ended up enraging at a certain point,
Right.
and helping us cleave down the golem. That being said, he was in a blind rage. Not only at one point did he strike Thelsa, I believe with the back of his heel, trying to move past him.
I was trying to move past Motruck at the time.
Yeah. He saw the worm that walks move off to the other side or get flung over to the other side, and in a fit of rage, jumped through the black flame to strike him down.
Right.
At that point, though, Ulhime was holding what we could only guess to be some sort of soul conduit or phylactery of the worm that walks.
Okay.
And he ended up cutting through the gem as well as the gauntlet. And with all the negative energy and positive energy from the gauntlet, the phylactery from the black flame that was on the blade, a massive explosion occurred. And as a result, Ulhime lost his left hand.
Right.
Being heavily damaged, Ulhime was knocked unconscious. The giant was consumed by the black flame, and he died of his own wounds. At which point, where the rest of the group was able to pick up, I guess there are remains of what was left of us, and we made our way into the chamber that we're currently looking on at least on our map.
To be fair, his wounds did help, but I think it was really the explosion that did it.
Yeah, I mean that's overall. I mean he ended up losing his hand, a large portion of it. Getting to the room, we were met with another one of the undead mummies, one of Adam Marcus's servants, who essentially said, "You must sacrifice one of yourself. You must sacrifice someone in your group in order to gain control of Occipitous.
That's right.
Only by then will you guys be able to take control of the realm itself." But we were also told by, let me get his name. Told by Soraya that
Yes.
that there was a lie within the trial itself,
It was
and
a trick.
that lie was in fact.
He didn't tell you what it was. He said, "I'm not going to tell you."
Correct. That lie, the trick was in fact that it wasn't supposed to be us sacrificing someone else, but us to provide self-sacrifice, to give ourselves to the power of Occipitous in order to save those around us.
Right. An angel through and through, he remained.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing one of us figured that out.
When that happened, Jakob decided to take up the mantle and began to walk towards the flame that you see in the center to sacrifice himself. Upon doing that, Klaus stopped him abruptly and told him that essentially this wasn't something that he had to do, that he didn't have to do it essentially to prove a point for anything. And with that, Klaus pulled Jakob away and moved into the flame to sacrifice himself. Upon realizing that he was being transported upward, everyone thought for a few moments that, in fact, Klaus had given himself up in order to complete the trials, only to find out that he was launched above Occipitous, completing the trials, and becoming Occipitous and Celestia's new master in that regard.
Okay.
being brought down safely by Soraya.
Correct. So this is a kind of a defining moment in your characters' stories. Some of you felt spurned by this. I know personally you felt spurned, but your characters saw this as a moment for redemption, and it was swept from underneath you. What what was that? Did you roll something, Klaus? You're muted.
I'm filling out the sheet and I clicked an empty parentheses and it rolled something weird. I don't know.
Gotcha. Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a moment of redemption for some of you, but you felt slightly spurned. And that makes sense. You know, these moments don't come too often. It's relatively like few and far between, and that would make sense why you might be angry. But Klaus saw it upon himself. He said this is a moment for himself. He has no fear, right? He has this. I know Will sees that inevitably there will come an end to Klaus if he keeps throwing himself at the boulder. But Klaus doesn't see that. I feel like Klaus is at a point where he feels almost deitic. It is professed that he is to not die. Or at least he believes that. How far am I off the mark? If I am, please interrupt me. Please tell me something.
I don't necessarily believe myself dietic, but I definitely know that nothing I've done so far has killed me, so
Yeah.
why would there be any reason that anything I do now would?
Right. And that makes sense. So,
Great self-sacrifice. I'm coming back anyway.
yeah. So Thelsa, as the newest person of this party, what did you perceive from that? I know what Innie saw. We talked about it, but what does this look like from Thelsa's eyes?
At first I had seen it, well, Thelsa had seen it as Klaus was being really, well, no, that's how she's still going to see it, was that Klaus was being very noble and taking a hit for a friend, because, I mean, from what I'm aware, Jakob has been blaming himself for everything that has happened here, and so I don't think him throwing himself into the fire would have been a good thing. And I mean, I don't really know what happened in the beginning of this trial because I just kind of got drafted along for the second half. But,
Sure.
I just see that Klaus, who apparently doesn't die because, you know, they said it was going to kill you, and we watched it kill some objects. Well, just the lantern primarily. That, well, I thought he was just going to commit self-sacrifice.
Sure.
And he came back, and I guess I'm now realizing what I'm joining in with, because at first it looked like a ragtag group of people, and I've seen now Ulhime has come back twice or three times. I don't remember if he was a goblin when I first got there.
Yeah,
I think he was a goblin.
So
Yeah.
I just saw you come back once, which surprised me. Your hand got blown off, and you're still walking around like nothing's wrong.
I'm unconscious right now.
Yeah,
I mean-
well, details.
Oh yeah, got to
details.
see him molt his skin and turn into
Yeah.
a giant, a larger creature.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Went from a Caterpie to a full-blown Orakai.
I'm realizing how much the people in this party care for one another, which is another big thing. Because at first it was more like they're just sticking together because they're helpful, but now I'm seeing more than just one of them are willing to self-sacrifice for each other. Even though Jakob kind of got his thunder stolen from him.
Yeah.
Or lack of a better term. It was still noble that he tried, even though, it didn't happen that way.
Yeah, he's got a certain nobility when he's not fucking up.
Yeah, or, killing kids with tentacles.
So what do you think this
There
means?
for that.
What do you think this means going forward for Jacob's character? Since he lost this moment of redemption, is this the end all be all for his character? Does he see that more opportunities are on the rise. Like, he's been referred to at least once as the Dawnbringer. That's a certain stigma that's going to hang on for a bit. And it's not like it's a big secret. We all kind of know what that title means.
Well, I mean, as far as Jakob understands it, he only knows it from what happened in an Occipitus, aka Celestia.
Yeah.
That apparently he was the one that brought about the end. But that's all he knows about it, and all he's really thought about it. As far as how he feels with the whole situation, first and foremost, it can be capitalized by fuck Klaus.
Okay.
He's a little salty about that because,
all right,
you know, he was so sure of it, and yeah, just it was like this was my moment. But I'm sure he'll get over that with enough alcohol. And no, I mean he's kind of tied in with this party as much as he dislikes what Klaus did. He understands it. He gets the reasoning, and of course his best friend Ulhime is still unconscious at this point. So as for what's going to happen after Ulhime is,
I feel like I've got to interject though. You borderline pass it off as a situation of like, bygones be bygones, salty now.
Oh no.
Let's pull some things. Let's pull some things into the field of light, right? Like, Ulhime is your best friend and your pseudo caretaker, but even he was growing tired of some of the things that had happened. Let's kind of reel it back to what happened with the Birdman. Remember the Avoral?
Oh yeah.
When it was all said and done and everything had happened, Ulhime was like, Jakob, you've done enough.
Yeah.
That, as far as your only best friend goes, like that's a red flag moment. And you were certainly looking for that redeeming moment to where you could show the world and your newfound allies that you are more than this skin leads everyone else on to believe. That you're not just this demon, this monster. The bringing of the cataclysm wasn't exactly your fault. I mean, it was by proxy, but you didn't really know. It was literally an accident. You just stepped forward through a step in time. It was literally a stitch, and you were there, and then everything just started to tumble downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, after he's definitely salty about the fact that his moment of fixing things was ripped away from him. And of course, on the one hand, he's just pissed at Klaus because he feels like this was something that he should have done, but he's also pissed at Klaus because he took away that opportunity.
Sure. So does this mean that
there's going to be some bitterness?
Is it just bitterness, or is it something that's going to come? I'd like to see that kind of touch the stage. Like, let's make that a touchstone. You know, this is important to your character. Why sweep it under the rug?
Oh, it's not getting swept under the rug. It's still going to come up, but yeah, as of right now, he's got bigger fish to fry. Mainly, you know, his companion's arm is gone.
Right.
You know, the relic of a god is gone.
Yeah.
And they now have this realm, shit stain that it is, at their disposal.
Yeah.
And of course it belongs to the man who stole his thunder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ulhime.
Yo.
Let's talk about your current relationship within the group right now. You have defined yourself as an unshakable pillar. And I say that because even in death, you continue to return to fight on as if nothing had ever happened. What is your relationship right now like with Jakob?
I mean, for the most part, it's still in good standing. Like I said, the whole thing, it wasn't just him that I was mad at. It was the group as a whole when it came to the Cardinal.
Okay.
Because it was one of those things where we're just like, I was like, hey, like, give me a chance to talk to him and let's see what we can do. And like, I get it, he lashed out because he's been in hell the whole time, and having that happen where everyone just kind of wailed on him and didn't even think about it, it's like, yeah, okay, sure, I get it, we're in hell, but in less tenuous situations, is it going to always be like this? Is it going to always be a situation where it's like, well, if we can't talk to him, then we're going to have to kill him? It's like, at some point, like, he doesn't feel that it's going to be, what's the best way to describe it? It's a slight worrying feeling that at one point his shield is going to have to turn around and face the people that he's calling his allies.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it's not like he's seeing it happen sometime soon, but if that's like a foreshadowing to how business is going to be conducted,
yeah, if it becomes a reoccurring theme, then I would only hope that Ulhime would stand for what he believes in.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like he doesn't want to have to be part of the same group of people that he was trying to get away from, you know, or he doesn't want to help people that are going to shake people down and take what they think is theirs simply because they're stronger and they have the ability to do so. So it's one of those things that kind of sits in the back of his mind where it's like, yeah, they're good people. We saved the realm, but I mean, as of right now, he doesn't know what the outcome of the trials was. And I mean, as far as Jakob goes, I got to keep it even closer eye on him, because I don't know if the group is influencing him or he's doing it because he feels like, if he himself feels that lashing out like this is the right thing to do.
Right.
So it's either I got to put in more work on my part, or I have to like start being even more stringent with him to kind of guide him even in a more like strict tone, like, unless I say fight, don't fight kind of thing.
Do you think
So
that they're going to abide by that notion? I mean, if you feel like their life is threatened and you're like, no, don't do it, do you think they're just going to buckle?
It's not a thing if whether or not they're okay with it or not. It gets to a point where, you know, we're walking through a village and some guards like, back the hell up, we don't want you guys here. And they're like, well, fuck it, we're gonna fight our way through. I'll like, Ulhime won't hesitate to turn around and be like, no, like, you're not gonna do shit. Like, leave them alone. Like, we're not bandits. We're not trying to force our way through, you know, into some home or anything like that. We're not the evils we're trying to stop. Essentially,
Sure.
Like, he doesn't want to turn it into that.
That makes sense. Okay. That's fair. Klaus, I'd like to pitch this back to you. I know that Klaus has had things fairly difficult from the inception of his character in, 120 plus episodes ago to now. It's not exactly been a walk in the park. You have seen some of the most interesting and horrible things that you could dream of in this particular world. And I feel like it's shaken and changed him to a degree. I definitely believe that it's made him a bit colder. Do you feel that like that's an agreeable statement, or is it something where you're like, no, I still think the innocence of Klaus has been preserved, and you can see that in these actions?
I think it's a fair assessment. I think that there is a growing cynicism in Klaus, just based on his experiences in life and being burned by people that he considered not necessarily friends, but at least allies. I think that he's not blind to the effect that his actions have on the world, and he's certainly not unfeeling to the effects themselves, especially in times that we actually get to spend time in Cauldron and see how the world has changed, partially thanks to our existence as a group and partially not. So I don't think he's like completely gone, but there's definitely some change that's been enacted.
Sure. I think I'm inclined to agree with that. So there's an old saying, they and by they I mean generally older folks, they say that you can lure more flies with honey than with vinegar. And I feel like that speaks leaps and bounds about how everyone in this group handles their actions. And I know a lot of the times in the past, it was easy for us to throw away the politics of diplomacy and step into threatening valiance and sort of murder hoboing our way through things. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. I feel like there are a number of times that you guys could have talked your way out of things as a various amount of characters, as opposed to just going into, you know, throwing bows left and right. Is this a tenet that we'll see more of now that you guys have stepped literally out of hell? Or and this is just kind of an open-ended question at this point. Is this, like I said, is this a tenet that you guys would like to pursue more, or are you going to lean on your muscles and your experience as tried and true adventurers?
I would say, at least from my standpoint, if we can talk with people and come to some common ground, even if it's not the most optimal one that we're seeking, like character-wise, Ulhime would prefer that over anything else, because the last thing he wants to do is fight. If he can talk his way out of it, then he's going to do that.
Right. That's fair.
As for Jakob, well, he's got a history that's more roguelike than anything, so he's always been more pragmatic, more practical, more efficient. If he thinks there's the possibility of talking his way out of a situation, be it through just honest discourse or the occasional not so white lie, he's perfectly fine doing that. But if it's one of those things where, you know, in a hurry, the guard in front of them, he might go ahead and decide that the swifter course is just to rip its head off.
Damn.
His moral code is a little skewed, okay? He's only starting to get one.
All right. Okay. And you can admit that, like, that's something that we're seeing. Is it something that it's like his moral code's kind of always been this way? It's a little shakier. It's not quite as tested, or...
Oh, no. Before Ulhime, he really had no moral quandaries or qualms about killing people. You know, they never really did him any favors. He really didn't go out of his way to do any for them. You know, he was more avoidance, but shit, things happen. Oh, well. It's not until recently, in running into Ulhime, that he's trying to offset some of those more violent urges.
Okay.
Like I'm remembering the first episode that he was brought in and getting out of lockup. You know, he was being constrained for burning down an inn, but of course that was because he was trying to dissuade people from getting into a brawl with him. You know, that's since Ulhime. Otherwise, he'd have just carved his way out and left town.
It's fair.
Yeah, so he's trying to be a good person. He's just not really good at it.
I can dig that. So, guys, I leave the floor open to you. Last time we played, you rounded out the chapter. And generally, this is when I would begin introducing all of the new effects, the new overlays, the new everything for the next chapter, but courtesy of a slew of events, there will be no new update in the overlay, no new updated names or levels or anything like that right away. We're going to be making some transitions and changes, but you guys will have an opportunity to go back, courtesy of Soraya, back to the town to finish some of your loose ends, to have some quote-unquote downtime. Some of you have things that you have to pursue. I know for Ulhime, there's two things on his mind when he becomes conscious. One is, obviously, did we win? Two I imagine it's a tie between, oh god, what I'm going to do with my arm, and I need to find a diamond worth 2,500 gold. I could be wrong, but that's just a guess.
I think the gold, the diamond dust is probably going to take precedence there.
Yeah, I would assume so. Thelsa, you will be returning to a town that you don't particularly dread, but its inhabitants is someone that goes against your every fiber of being. You don't really like your family. You feel obligated, I think is the right word. Like you're tied here. And you're only here out of necessity. So, I don't really know what your motivations and your goals are. You can sit on the wayside and linger in the shadows of your allies, or you can step up and do something about it. I'm kind of leaving this up to you guys here. Klaus is sort of the one that I'm most interested in. Because now, he reigns king. There is no delusions of grandeur. He is quite literally the leader of a separate plane that is a combination of the abyss and heaven, quote-unquote. Celestia and Oxypitus is now combined. When you ended the session last, Corophon fled out of anger. He was very, very distraught. It's not exactly what he anticipated would happen. There are still people that watch you from on high. I know most of you are still concerned about it because, well, you left them alive. I'm just going to toss a name out there and see how it sticks with each of you. Nabzatoran.
He's probably pretty happy.
Yeah. See, he managed to survive the encounter. He was able to best 5 level 9, 10, and 11 adventurers. He got experience out of that. He could say, quote-unquote, he might have leveled up. Things are going to become more of a challenge, but I think that's what we're used to seeing. So the floor is up to you guys. It's yours. I leave it with you here, being teleported back courtesy of Soraya, leaving an angelic mark specifically to you, Klaus, saying, call upon my sigil, and I'll hearken to your call. Your aid is to only yours that I offer. And he returns you back to Cauldron. Good old Cauldron. The beauty that it was, and is. Stands on the precipice of greatness, but something dark still lurks all around. And it's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and alter our music here. And set us back up for the greatness that it is. Okay.
So I think the first question is, where in Cauldron did we just land?
I will leave that to you guys to decide.
Well, Klaus, it's your realm.
Well, clearly we've got to go to the tankard. I mean, I don't know why you still ask at this point. I know you haven't been with us long, but this should be pretty clear.
That's fair.
Are we sure Griffin's going to be all right with us just appearing out of nowhere in the middle of this bar?
Oh, but
No.
it was 5,000 gold.
Weirder things have happened.
What'd you say?
5,000.
What about it?
It's 5,000 gold diamond.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, you guys can continue. My bad.
No, you're fine.
All right, so I'm imagining that since they just landed in the middle of the tip tankard, I'm not sure if they would have discussed this ahead of time.
Yeah.
Or if it's just one of those things where Klaus is like, let's go home, boys, bam, in the middle of the tavern. But, yeah, I think the first thing Jakob would do is look to Master Sunn and start pulling Ulhime over his shoulder. Come, I think we should go to the Church of Saren Ray. Because that's the only healer that he knows of in town who won't be so thrown off by the fact that he's now a full orc,
Correct.
if memory serves.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah, and
you wish to
people
immediately take Ulhime to St. Cuthbert's.
well, he just lost an arm. I'm feeling a little pressured for time. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Klaus, Thelsa, what are your intentions?
I'm gonna fucking go to sleep.
Yeah, likely just kind of take a break because I said I was going to hell, but I wasn't expecting literal at first.
Hey, at least you didn't go in a handbasket.
This is
Yeah,
true.
I went in a housemaid's outfit instead.
All right, that's fair. So you wish to immediately rush Ulhime to see the maiden, the leader of St. Cuthbert's, Jenya Eureka's.
Absolutely.
Not a problem. Klaus, you wish to take your reprieve, get some rest. That should be easy enough. You'll be met in confused glare and state by our humble tavern owner, who's very concerned. He'll rush up to you immediately, not recognizing that there's a dwarf in the party whatsoever. Mr. Klaus, what's happened? What's going to happen to my boy?
Your son, as far as I'm aware, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure. We've just had a bit of an adventure. How is he doing?
As you say, I honestly have no idea. His eyes kind of like flutter out of confusion. This is the first time that he's honestly seen anyone in this group speak with lack of knowledge, right? Like you guys are pretty sure of yourselves. Like, don't worry, Griffin, we'll figure it out. And this time, you actually don't know. You're not sure. He still breathes. He breathes just fine, and he's asleep in the back. And well, to be honest, I'm very worried, Mr. Klaus.
Has he been himself since the incident?
He's not stirred a wink. He stays in bed.
I see. Would you mind if we tried to speak with him?
I don't see how he's not awake. His eyes stay closed, and it's like he sleeps like the dead. You could see him if it means that you might save him.
How long has it been since this incident has happened?
Since the dwarf it came in and it did the thing, that one there, the redskin, when he made the things reach up from the ground, and my son went down. The dwarf, he got some kind of divine something. He called upon the gods, and I don't really know what's happened.
I'm sorry.
It's been 2 days' time.
It wasn't my place to ask.
And of course,
Yeah.
the Redskin's just been headed to the door with a naked orc over his shoulder, just like, deuce.
Of course. I wouldn't expect any less. Okay. Did you
running
wish
from his responsibilities?
Did you wish
That's his thing.
to see him? Because I can take you. He's lying in the back.
If you don't mind, yes, I believe it would do us some good.
Sure. The sounds of the tavern are drowned out by the concerned concerned wafts of a mother with what looks to be some kind of a fan. She is basically using this fan to keep his body cool. Remember, they didn't exactly have heating and air at the time. It was pretty much just dank, moist wood and whatever they could find to kind of treat in the scenario and situation. And when you go to the back, you'll see that the youngest son lies on a bed, and he is very much unconscious. His body seems to be suffering from something. There's some kind of waning about it. It's not like it's taking on an odd color, but you can sort of see that his body is becoming frail. Like the vitality is beginning to slowly slip away.
Out of character, how long have we been gone for at this point? I imagine it's
2 days' time.
okay. Gotcha.
It was longer in Oxipidus, but here it's been 2 days' time.
Okay. He's certainly doing better than when we last saw him, but at the moment there's not a whole lot we can do. I assure you it's a temporary situation, but once we get our allies back, they're currently seeking out treatment for their wounds. We can sit down with all of them and include you on the discussion if you would like, and determine exactly what we're going to do to rectify the situation to get your boy better.
Well, I didn't just see you step through that thing, and with the dwarf. Did he die?
In a way, but he's still with us. Do you know how I sometimes come in looking different?
I do that you see that you've come in different, but I don't know why.
That's the $1 million question, I do believe. But he's undergone a similar change. I don't rightly know how to explain it because I don't fully understand it myself, but he's here, just different.
How do each of you keep changing bodies? Soon you'll have nothing left if you stays inside of this place. Eventually, I'm afraid, Master Klaus, that you'll come to an end.
Well, everyone has to someday.
Hopefully not for my boy.
It'll be okay. We'll figure it out. No matter what we have to do. We'll right this wrong.
Well, he said that he needed 7 days' time. It's only been 2. I'm holding out that even from beyond the pale, he can find what he needs. If there's anything that I can do, or the rest of me fam, you just say something, please.
We will, but in the meantime, make sure you take care of yourself and both of your sons.
You'll see that he does just that. He'll kind of lean down to his son and treat him just the same. There's more cooling. He kind of wipes a cool rag across his brow and he drags it down his cheek, clutching onto his hand. There's a tantamount of concern, but there's a lot of love here. It's pretty much the only thing that's keeping Griffin going at this point. And we'll draw this over to you two. You're rushing through. You have the arm of this man around yours, yes?
As far as how I'm carrying Ulhime?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would imagine that I've got him in a fireman's carry, just holding on to, have him strapped over my shoulders, one arm around a leg, the other one holding on to his good arm.
Sure.
I'd imagine that Sunn would have already tourniqueted and wrapped the wound.
Yeah.
So he's not bleeding all over town.
Sure. So after all this is said and done, you kind of tossle him up over your shoulder, and you kick out of the tip tankard itself. People will look onward, kind of confused, and they see a man with bright red skin carrying a half-orc that's lacking an arm over his shoulder. It's going to start sending up flags left and right.
Yeah, I would imagine that they already had red flags going up when the devil walked through the city, and now the devil's walking through a city with a naked orc.
It looks bad. It looks really bad, admittedly.
Slightly. I mean, I'd imagine that I should be quick.
Jacob, that being said, give me a perception.
Oh, joy. Let me see if I actually have that on my sheet.
I believe.
Yes. And of course, if I do have it on my sheet, which I believe I do, I should be able to just roll.
Should be able to.
Not sure if that went through.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Sure enough.
Baller!
Jacob, when you burst out the door and you start rushing down the street, you kind of start looking around frantically, trying to take everything in, making sure that you avoid contact with as many people as possible, especially if anyone seems to want to stop you. But you do notice that the crowds have thinned. It's not as if it's quiet, right? It's not as if it's completely vacant. But the amount of people inside of Cauldron, as far as you can tell, particularly at this time, which seems to be early day still, is relatively vacant.
So there's about the same number of people as there would be in like late evening when most people are already at home.
Yeah.
It's just kind of sparse.
Yeah.
That's definitely going to go ahead and raise some flags, because it usually indicates either people are gathered somewhere, which 2 or 3 days ago wasn't the case.
Okay.
Or people are fleeing the city. And the fact that people are still remaining and people aren't running for their lives doesn't really seem the case.
Okay.
So I think he's going to probably just file it down as something to ask Jenya about. But he's just going to keep on the run.
That's fair. All right. So you manage to hustle as fast as you possibly can, making it over to St. Cuthbert's. You've been there several times.
He's going to boogie.
You know the amount of support that you managed to get from them, and you'll take that upon. When you find yourself entering into the church,
Stay a while and listen.
into the church. Let's see.
And of course, between him being in a hurry and Ulhime not being there to, Ulhime's influence, he just completely forgets the hood at this point. Bigger fish to fry.
Sure, that makes sense.
Which I think he's going to regret once he walks into the church.
You are met with zero disdain. The moment that you kind of burst in, you see that you kind of, you startle a couple of people, right? Like, you will manage to startle folks. But it's not quite like you had anticipated. It seems that today's quote-unquote congregation is thinner. But you can still see the low-tier help and Jenya maintaining. They seem to be taking it upon themselves to help just about anyone and everyone at this point. When you are seen by Jenya, she immediately stops what it is that she's doing, and she runs over to aid you immediately. She doesn't know what the situation is, but she comes over and she says, "Bless, what's happened? What's happened to this man?"
Please don't ask too many questions right now. It's Ulhime. He's gone through a couple changes. We just left. The best way I can go ahead and say it is we just left hell. And as you can see, at this point, he turns around and there's the stump dangling down behind him. He's been rather grievously wounded.
This is bad news. This is very bad news. Please bring him back here. Bring him back here. And she sort of leads you to a small working table where she starts clearing off some of the what would be considered detritus of sorts. You know, it's some mundane knickknacks, a few very old books that seem to be laid out. Pages are not very important at this point. She's just fine. She just kind of brushes it off the table, leaving you a spot to drop the oversized Ulhime.
Yeah, rolling him off, he's going to start explaining. Our physician Sunn did the best that he could with the circumstances and what we had at hand, but this has only happened less than an hour ago, maybe an hour and a quarter.
Oh no!
Of course.
This is very bad.
Yes. I'm not sure if this is something that can be completely mended, replaced, regrown, what have you. But I can say that he was wearing a holy relic at the time.
A relic?
The glove of Helm.
She kind of does that, like, very unbelieved moment. She looks to you.
It's been an eventful week.
Why would Ulhime have neither here nor there? But hold on. This is very bad. This is a botched job. Let me at least see if I can mend the wound immediately.
Absolutely. And he'll step back and just kind of worry over his hands, just trying to keep an eye on his friend, but not really being able to sit still either.
She seems to be slowly removing the wrapping of his stump of sorts, since it's basically been blown off up to the elbow. Even in that case, you see his arm is massive, right? As a half-orc, he's taken upon this incredible girth about himself. And as she begins to treat these wounds, you know, she begins to pull it back, and you hear this like audible like as it kind of schlicks away from the wound itself, leaving a very visible stump.
Leave it to Ulhime to go elbows deep on this.
She takes a moment to kind of like cover her mouth, and she shakes her head after closing her eyes. And then she'll start drawing forth some unguents. It looks like she has mortar and pestle. She puts in a call with one of the aides, and she asks them to fetch some of these basic components. He seems to gather a small side bag, and he'll rush off. She looks to you. He's off to the apothecary. We just need a few basic components, and we should be able to treat this. This is much more than I anticipated.
Well, I certainly understand, Jenya. Anything you can do. I mean, he's just got to survive. That's my main. If there's any way we can, is it even possible to get the arm back?
Everything's possible with Divine. With belief on high, we can do this, but it's more than that. It's the material components for this it's not inexpensive.
How expensive are we talking?
Depends on the extent of the damage. Do you have
we
any?
Can see the damage.
Do you have at least any of the remainder of what was left of the arm? She looks hopeful.
There really wasn't much left. I meant it when I said this is the damage from a holy relic. It blew his arm apart.
What would even cause something like that?
As far as I can ascertain and discern, it was a blade that was wreathed in some physical manifestation of evil, and he tried to defend the blow away with this gauntlet of Helm, and the gauntlet sheared.
This is terrible news.
Unstoppable force, immovable surface, yes. It was loud. We'll put it that way. Energetic. Truth told, I'm shocked the damage isn't worse than it is.
All I ask is that he return from the apothecary, and I'll take what components I have, and I'll do the best that I can. But I'm afraid that he may have to live without his arm.
Do what you must. Do what you can. That's all we ask.
Give me perception, please. It's very good. It's very good. Now, before, who wrapped his arm? Do we remember who it was? Was it Sunn? I think it was Sunn.
Yeah, it was Sunn.
Yeah.
But you stayed there as well to kind of monitor what was going on, right?
Right.
Or did you? Was this when you stepped away to leap into the geyser?
No, before we moved into the next room is when we went ahead and took care of the arm because of how damage, how bad the damage was. As far as I remember, there was a little bit of excess flesh, which he kind of cut away the excess.
Yeah.
Abraded the wound, tourniquet, wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll notice that when you glance over at the wound itself, the stump of sorts, the substance that remained behind the fleshy bits, there seems to be some sort of obtuse growth.
Obtuse growth, like off the bone itself, or...
Well, if you recall, the bone itself was removed. What remained of the bone was removed. In an effort for Sunn to heal this the right way, he had to shear away some of the remaining tendrils of skin, pull the bone, and begin wrapping, because he was pretty much wrapped up from that point forward. So that the rest of the bone that remained, which wasn't much, mind you, it was only like maybe 2 inches of it, was pulled away.
And what I'm seeing now is that the bone has extended.
It sort of looks like if there was a bone there. This material, it doesn't look like ivory. It doesn't really give you that that sensation that you're looking at ivory, like, oh, that's a bone. I know because of the way that it is. That's not the case. You're not seeing what looks like ivory. This looks like some kind of foreign material.
Well, given that Jenya's off speaking with her assistant, sending him to the apothecary, Jakob is going to kind of glance over and make sure she's not immediately rushing back, but he is going to lean closer and inspect the wound now that it's been unwrapped. And he's not quite going to touch it, but he is going to kind of like shade his hand over it, try and see if this is an effect of the light, squint closer. He's actually going to inspect the wound.
Sure. Give me a heal check, please.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
Jakob, you are for certain that Sunn removed the remaining exploded bits of bone from the arm, but what you're seeing as you look inward, it doesn't look traditionally like a bone. Bones maintain an off-white, like an eggshell of sorts, this borderline creamy color. It's not the case. This seems to be some kind of mossy dark green.
And this is coming right off the bone itself?
It looks like it's begun to form new bone.
Yeah, once he sees the discoloration and just the amount of growth, he is going to kind of flag down Jenya as she comes back.
She seems to be flipping through a series of books, pages on regeneration and what it means to operate like this, basically the SOPs of living with a stump as opposed to a fully functional arm.
Yeah, she's researching. Okay, how bad? How do I crack the bad news? But he is going to reach over and kind of tap her on the shoulder. Lady Jenya, I'm no physician, and I'm certainly no expert when it comes to orcs. And he's going to kind of pull her over closer, and he's going to point out, what's that? I mean, this really did only happen no more than an hour ago. That's not right. That was not there before.
She will slowly lean in, and as she's kind of like, she's sort of leaning over the top of it, you watch from a very different angle, and when you do, you see something briefly fall from the wound. And immediately, as it connects with the table, it sends up a simmer of smoke. Give me a perception.
All right, and
when this thing hit the table, you notice before it went up in smoke, it seemed to be some sort of very thin, frail line of sorts. And it seemed to almost writhe in the air. Not like it was twisting because of the wind, because there's no wind here. Almost like it was alive. And when it touched the wood of the table, it scorched immediately and sent up a small puff of smoke.
That's not comforting. Yeah, he's going to go ahead and burn a use of Detect Magic.
Sure. When you cast Detect Magic, your eyes pale over this chromial silver, and when you begin to peer at it, you can see that there is some kind of darkened aura of the like these red bits that seem to be riveted into the upper arm, all the way down to the elbow itself, and it seems to be driving energy to where you would believe bone to be. And this formation, this mossy green formation, is beginning to form a hardened substance, and it looks as if it's creating new bone matter.
Okay, so I am seeing these points of arcane energy in his arm, focused around his bicep, and it seems to be feeding into the bone structure itself and down to the stump where it's actually pushing from. Give or take.
Give or take, yes.
Would I be able to go ahead and Knowledge Arcana this?
You can try. And tell me exactly what you're attempting to identify.
What I'm trying to do is identify if this is the result of some kind of arcane material, because I do know that out in, we just left Hell, but I do know that on other planes there are materials that can interact and have their own magical properties.
Yeah.
Like Orichalcum and so forth. So I don't know if I should do that as Knowledge Planes, Knowledge Arcana, or possibly Spellcraft.
You have to choose. You got to use what context clues you have, the things that have happened in the past, and what this could, what you believe it to possibly be. But once you make your check, that's the current information until something happens in your life to change that.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and use his Knowledge of Arcana, his studies.
Okay. That's really, really good. Jacob, so what is your specific question so I can hope to deliver you a formative answer?
What necessarily could be causing this, given what I know of the situation so far? Because this has to be some kind of because I'm actually able to detect it, I know it's some form of magical inference. It's not really like the insistence of Helm to heal. This isn't something that's based in religion. So I'm trying to figure out what materials we've come across that could go ahead and possibly result in this particular reaction.
All right, so you rolled exceptionally well. And with the context clues that you've been given, it could be a variety of things. So first and foremost, you went into hell, one of the harshest layers of hell, where the demon prince of madness laid rest for years. Where heaven, a part of heaven, Celestia fell to. That is just a breeding ground of diseases and disorders and all kinds of malign that could be happening to Ulhime. Secondly, Ulhime was subject to divine transformation multiple times. His body could still be suffering the effects of that as we speak. Third, when Helm's gauntlet broke, it broke cascading with a very powerful figure. The expulsion, the explosion even, which rendered Ulhime the loss of his arm and unconscious, almost even comatic at this point, wasn't just, it's not like he was just fighting some random character. He was fighting someone very potent, very powerful, and Ulhime had intentions. This could be a number of things. You have to take from what you've seen, what you've gathered, and what you know up to this point. I can't directly give you that answer, because it could be literally any number of things.
Well, I know that we kind of went to the Detroit of Shackled City.
Yeah.
And I know that I don't think it's likely that Ulhime managed to get some kind of magical STD out there, or STI or anything like that. So I don't think this is necessarily a disease. I'm wondering if this is shards of Helm's gauntlet that have been embedded into his arm. But it's more a fact that I can't really tell what kind of magic it is that he has in here. But no, given what I can see and what I remember happening, I am going to kind of point out to Jenya, I think he's mending on his own.
She
I'm not
kind
sure.
of looks at the wound, and she looks to you. I've never seen bone mend of its own accord and be that color. Now, forgive me, I've never seen the skeleton of an Afork, but I can't assume that it would be this dark green. She immediately kind of like leaps up and she starts peeling back his lips, looking at his teeth. And
I'm imagining you mean Ulhime's.
Yes.
Yeah, thank God.
You see that he has the same off-white to yellow-colored teeth with a little bit of dinge that basically everybody else has. Looking back at the wound, she points. It doesn't make sense. Why would his teeth be this color? And the bone of his arm be another?
I can't say for certain, but all I can say is that, and at this point, he'll start pointing at points in Ulhime's bicep. Something here is feeding into the bone. Now, I don't know if you want to possibly incise the wound and see what it could be, but
that's not my area of expertise.
Mine neither. I carry really big, sharp things to do a lot more damage than a scalpel. My point being, do you think we should maybe just take a measurement, wait 20 or 30 minutes, and see if we can find out what effect this is having?
I don't know. We can wait this long. I still am waiting for the return of my items. But why would it be mending on? That doesn't make any sense.
Janya, we have literally visited Celestia this week. We've just left Occipitus. I just saw an old man throw himself into the heart of what looked like a star and come back carded by an angel. This is kind of on the low end of the surprising things I've run across this week.
Forgive me for not immediately believing you, but I only see what I believe. I'm believing what I'm seeing right now.
I understand.
And I just have to chalk everything that you're saying up to the rantings, the ravings of a madman. What I can see is that this man has lost his arm, and to something quite malicious.
Agreed. My point being, though, I just, before we move further, let's just pay attention to this and see how this is going. See if this is a type of mending that may be naturally occurring, or if this is something that, like an infection of the wound. Does that make sense?
I suppose we can wait for a short time, but I cannot in good faith leave him lying here in pain. Or if he's even in pain, I don't even know.
No, I understand. Let's, by all means, let's make him comfortable. But if there's a chance that he could get his arm back, just please, sit with me a while and just help me. Is that fair?
I suppose so.
Thank you. And at this point, Jared's going to... Ooh, sorry. Jacob. Ooh.
He did it himself.
Can't even trust myself! Damn!
Right?
Maybe I am losing my mind.
You might be.
But no, at this point, Jacob is going to pull out some scrap pages from his various books and such, and sit down and start taking notations of the wound, and see if he can't find some kind of mark stick to measure the bone and a timer to mark the advance of growth. He's just going to take about 15-20 minutes to get a better grasp as to what possibly could be happening.
Okay, sure, that makes
And leave
sense. So, I'm going to allow some time to pass here. Thelsa, Klaus, I want to pass this buck back to you cats, since I don't want to just sit on the fact that you guys are just going to go take a nappy nap. We can, but I feel like there's some more interesting things that could be done here. So, I'm going to pass this back to you. Ambiance is yours.
Can I use the restroom? I'll pass.
Go for it.
You're knocked out. You can go pee all you want.
Not while you're knocked out, though.
Thelsa.
No, go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Thelsa, you don't have a room at the Tip Tankard.
No, I do not.
You don't have money.
No, I ain't got shit.
You have a family.
Yeah, no, fuck them. I'm staying. I'll drink all day and put it on Jacob's tab.
I don't have a tab anymore.
Yeah, well, you do now. Now, what I'm actually going to be doing is likely sticking along with Klaus as long as I can, because I want to try and help out with the party and trying to stay away from that. Figure out if they have some kind of home base somewhere to get away to that isn't like a bar or my family's house. Just
all right.
Somewhere I can sit low without causing too much.
Well, you're in for a rude awakening.
Klaus, you find yourself finishing your explanation to Griffin and family, and as you begin walking up the stairs, you hear the pallid steps of Thelsa behind you, mirroring your steps. Maybe just slightly off count, but you can feel someone following you.
Do you need something?
Anywhere to go except for home?
Oh, I suppose you do need a room, huh?
Either here or there.
You'll
Just
forgive me.
somewhere to go. That
I
isn't.
seem to have forgotten that you actually need living quarters outside of your family home.
Yeah, I don't have any kind of spectral space I can just hop to.
Give me a moment. I'll speak to Griffin and we'll get you something sorted.
You all sleep here?
When we do sleep, which is rarely, it tends to be here, yes.
Why do you make so much money? Why wouldn't you just stay at a house instead of an inn?
Well, we don't make money. I have some funds set aside. B, there's no better place than a bar or a tavern to gather information regarding adventures, to hear tell of what's going on in the town, to see the inner workings. All that aside, the real reason we've been here so long is that Griffin is a good friend of ours, and when we were first starting out as a group, I say we, mostly me and myself and my former comrades, may God or whoever else resides in Celestia at this point rest their souls. He was very kind to us when we had very little, and he's continued to be kind, and I see no reason why we should stop patronizing him.
I had just figured that. I mean, if you're going to town to use this place, Cauldron, as your home city, that you'd own a house and not forever reside in an inn, I figured that was more suiting. Although, I suppose to each their own. I understand that an inn would be the best place to find information. I just had presumed you'd stop by for information instead of always being here. Pardon me for making assumptions.
People in this town are far less likely to burn down an inn than they would be to burn down our house, so there's that as well.
I suppose you have a point there. Buildings do tend to go up in several types of disaster at any given point, like the entire lower ring. Nobody really saw that one coming until the tentacles were here.
Oh, they all saw it coming. They just chose to do nothing about it.
No, it was far too late for anyone to do anything.
This is true. Let's get you a room sorted, and we can speak of this when we awake.
Okay, that sounds like a better plan. Do you not have property? Like, do you have nothing? I don't. It's so mind-blowing to me.
We own a deed or two here or there. Some may call it ill-gotten gains, the spoils of war, booty.
Klaus is like, bitch, we got a bat cave. Why are you so thirsty to know?
But these places aren't exactly suited for living at the moment.
This is just even more bizarre to me. You're telling me you own houses, but you reside in an inn.
Houses is a very strong word.
You own buildings. There's not much else here.
Buildings is a very strong word.
What do you own?
They're mostly slabs at this point, and unstable at that.